Just hit go live. Hopefully we're live.
When you hit public?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I don't know if that's the same thing or not.
Uh, yeah, hopefully we're live. I don't know if we are or not. We'll find out here in a minute. How's that? Anyone out there? Have you seen me?
I haven't seen you yet.
Oh, that's 22 seconds in. It should have gone by now. Poop. I don't understand that.
Yep, you're live.
Oh, it just must be a bit longer than normal delay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my next live video. I'm kind of discombobulated today. Small town trekker. See ya. Thank you. Hey there, Bob, Nana, Banana, and Havana. I think we've talked before. It's working. You are live. Joni's RV Journey. Hey, everyone from North Carolina. Hi, Joni. We are live, apparently. I am on the road, and so I've kept my eye on my phone, and as soon as I had a good signal, I pulled over and stopped. I'm in a gas station, and but I think I have a pretty good signal. It'll work. Uh, Phoenix Cabaret, hi from Tennessee. Jonathan Lewis, hi. Susan Desjardins, senior tech lady. Hi, everyone. Today we're going to talk about cooking. We let you know that would be today's topic, and it will be. So if you have any questions about that topic, write in and tell us your questions, and we'll be glad to address them. Before then, we've got a lot of announcements. But that what happens is you get used to the first 10 minutes of announcements, and you probably turn in late. So uh, that's okay too. But we do have to have announcements. So let's do announcements. Oops, that's not announcements. Oh, it is announcements. Okay, announcements. Uh, we're making changes in the minivan build coming up. The minivan build will be in Pahrump, Nevada. It's in Pahrump because we are a Nevada LLC. And when you deal with vehicles, it's a lot easier to do anything with a vehicle in the state because everything has to be the title. We did one in Oregon, and man, it was a nightmare dealing with the title, getting it into Nevada, getting it out of Nevada into the new people's names. So it's really just it's kind of a thing we have to do it. But we have this thing going on with the coronavirus going on now. And we were planning on doing 3 minivan builds at one time, and that meant about 30 people, a lot of people. And Pahrump is an hour and a half, not even an hour and a half away from Vegas, and Vegas is the world's playground. People come from all over the world to play in Vegas, and the virus travels with them. And we are predominantly an older group, not all, of course. There are, unfortunately, we're getting lots and lots of younger people, but we are predominantly an older group. And we also know that I'm 65. I'll be 65 very soon. Um, Actually, Casey's and Brad. Of all of our work crew, there's only a couple of us who are less than 65. So, and a lot of the volunteers, because we're retired, we have a lot of extra time. So a lot of the volunteers are older and retired, and we are at risk. The death rate among the children is virtually non-existent. The death rate among the young is you'd have to have something really physically wrong with you before you would be at risk from the coronavirus. But those of us who are over 60, 65, it becomes the percentage go very high, percentage of risk if you do get it. And it's a very, very unlikely anyone would, but man, we don't want to take the chance. So there's also a lot of us, a fair number of us, who have health issues. And so if you're older and have health issues and you get it, it's not good. It's really, really bad. We don't want to risk that. So the bottom line is we're not going to do uh, nothing's written in stone right now. Let me say that. But right now, we're not going to do 3 minivan builds because that would require a lot of people. We're going to do one. We're planning on doing one, and we may in April, just like the plans had been. We may do a second in May. That's not 100% certain, but we're still looking at doing that, and it will be a very small group. Really, you only need uh, 4 to 6 people can be really efficient in doing a build. Much beyond that, and they're doing a lot of other things. It's a minivan. How many people can get a minivan to work around? And we want to share the load, so and more the better. So if we were doing all three, the group would be large. We'd probably have 30 people there. But this way, we can only have 4 to 6. They will all have made informed decisions. They will all be sure that they don't have, related health issues that could compromise them. They can be younger or older. Most of them will probably still be older. So we're really revising the whole build, the minivan build. We're looking at one minivan build in April, potentially, possibly a second one. We have the funds for it. We're looking for 3. And then maybe we're talking, maybe again, wild potential. Nothing's written in stone here. Potentially a one in the summer, probably in Oregon. We've done one in Oregon before. We know how to do it there. So we'll do them. We just won't do them all at once, and we'll scatter them out. Hopefully by June, July, this is calmed down and pretty well, under control. We can always hope. We don't know. We're just guessing. I'm just guessing. I don't know. But we can all hope that that's the way it works. And again, the actual risks to us are phenomenally low, but they're higher enough that we want to make changes. So I'll let it go at that. We're rescheduling the build out till after. We are still doing one in April. We're still planning on that, right, Suanne?
Correct.
Right.
One van, starting with one minivan in April.
Right. So everything I've said is true up till now. And then we're going to see what happens. We are thinking about potentially one in May and then one in the summer in Oregon. And so if you're still interested in applying for them, you can still apply. Go to homesonwheelsalliance.org. Minivan. If you've already applied to be a volunteer and accepted, you'll be getting an email or a letter saying, sorry, we're making some arrangements because of this. And it'll just be the very few that will do the actual build, and it'll kind of become a social event too. And so we're going to not doing both, and both are good things. It's all about serving people and building community. So, but this will be pretty much just about serving people with a minimum number. Okay, so if you do want to apply for it, go to homesonwheelsalliance.org/minivan. We're also, now this could impact the caravans, because although, the whole point of the caravans is to be off in right now they're in the desert, because I'm in forest now, and I'm looking at snow all around me and around the mountain peaks, and was in the snow on the drive to here. And so it's the caravans are fairly safe because they're secluded, but even so, we're considering what impact the coronavirus will have on the caravans, and if there's anything we need to do different. I don't think we're really knowing and certain what we're going to do. Potentially nothing, because you're out in the middle of nowhere, and you're as safe as you can possibly be. So actually, really, potentially, the best thing someone could do is go join a caravan. Wouldn't you say, Suanne?
Yeah, the concern is that somebody is contagious and they don't know they are when they join the caravan. So we're just going to monitor it at this point.
But, the risk then is if everyone says, well, I'll go out there and be safe, and if one person has it and doesn't know, that's the problem, is you can have it and not know it. Or it might be just before you become aware of it, you come out and then you're there, and it becomes active in you and dangerous, and then you're spreading it. So we don't want that to happen either. So we don't know what we're doing. Who knows what, with this particular issue, it's hard to know exactly what to do. My son was going to come down and visit in April, and his employer was going to send him to Portland, and then he's going to hang around and see us. But his employer canceled the training because they didn't want to risk this either. So everybody who has anything to do with groups are facing these decisions. What do you do with a group? What risks do you take? What is just worth it? And so we're struggling with it too, and we don't really know. We're erring on the side of caution. That's the bottom line. We don't want to be responsible for harm to anyone. So stay tuned is really all I can say. If you're interested in what's going to happen to the caravans, go to meetups, go to meetup.com/caravans plural /events plural. And so you'll get the latest update and information there. We're still hiring an assistant. We've got a number of applications. We want more, we want as many people as are interested to apply, and then we will consider which one we're going to hire and do that. Your job will be schedule appointments, be professional and friendly, manage meeting agendas and supporting documents for group meetings, provide reminders for attendees, both mainly Sue Ann and I, manage multiple technologies. That's the big thing. You have to be competent with Windows machines, particular. You have to know email and calendars. Of course, most of us do that, but you have to know Outlook, and Outlook is a fairly complicated piece of software. You have to be at least familiar with it. You have to know Word. You have to be competent in Word. If I ask you to, what I do a lot, I'd like to do is put things into Word tables, and just because I think a table really displays it well. And so if I send you something, can you put this into a Word table? That can't baffle you. You have to know, oh yeah, tables are easy. I can do that. And I'm an old fart, and I can even put something in a table pretty easily. You have to know Zoom and FaceTime. FaceTime is an Apple product, and it's so simple that anyone can learn it. But Zoom is not so simple. It's not hard, but you have to be technology minded, and we would really want you to have had experience with setting up Zoom meetings. It's a teleconferencing process. A lot of big businesses now, it's a big thing. And it works super, super well, which is why it's a big thing. Zoom, and you have to be able to work with Slack. Slack is also taking the corporate world. It's a way for groups to meet and work together on projects, and that's just what we do. Homes on Wheels Alliance has dozens of projects going on, and so we oversee them in Slack. And you really do need to know what's going on in Slack. You have to be pretty proficient in Slack. And then just in Microsoft Windows as a rule, we're a Windows group. That's what we work in. If you only know Apple, we don't really want to have to train you all new into the Windows world. You need to be proficient. Should we talk about hours?
Let them know that it's on average part-time.
Right. It's a part-time job, and we don't want to sucker you in with a bait and switch and then turn it into you're working full-time for part-time wages. We don't want that to happen. We're looking, but it's not a 4-hour a day job either. It's not like you can start at noon and be done at 4. That's not going to happen. Well, we're kind of seeing it as maybe you would schedule an hour on not on the clock. We don't want you to keep a clock. We want you to average 4 hours, and maybe some days will be less, some days will be more, but we don't want to take advantage of you either. So maybe you'd check your email and the schedule and do all the scheduling and get out the reminders. And in an hour in the morning, an hour midday, and an hour mid-afternoon, and an hour before bed. So that's kind of the way that we're looking at it, because things just move and happen. So if I have an appointment scheduled with someone to meet them tomorrow, and they email you at 7:00 at night, and their schedule is in the morning, the meeting is in the morning, I don't want to have to find out in the morning. If they write you at 7:00 at night before you go to bed, you look at the email and you see that that's changed, so you acknowledge the change and email that to me. That's all you have to do. It won't take you a long time, but you really need to spread it out through the day. That's the kind of thing we're looking at. Scheduling Zoom meetings, those are all, many of them are already scheduled, and every Thursday we have 2 meetings, so you plan your block of that day around the 2 meetings, and so on. Okay, to apply, go to homesonwheelsalliance.org/assistant, homesonwheelsalliance.org/assistant. We try to make these things easy to remember. Just go to homesonwheelsalliance.org and it's /assistant. It's pretty simple. Most of you should be able to remember that. We also have an application at cheaprvliving.com/assistant. but cheaprvliving.com is kind of messed up right now. We're working on getting it fixed. Cut off to apply is March 30th. Okay, I think we're done. Is that all we're going to do?
That's it.
Okay, I think we're done. I'm not kidding. Oh, that's why. There we are. AB's, let's see. Hey, all, thumbs up from Denise Klein. Hi, Denise. I think that's how you say that. Okay, I think I will be done there. We have questions about cooking, but before we do that, I'm going to run around and show you my cooking setup, and then you'll have seen my cooking setup, and then I'll take questions and comments. However you're cooking, if you have something out of under the ordinary, also, yeah, feel free to write in, and I'll just relay your comments because I'm not an expert on cooking, and especially on eating healthy. If you're a healthy eater on the road, I am not particularly healthy. I do make an effort, but most of you will mock my efforts and say, Bob, that's not much of an effort. And I wouldn't argue. And so particularly in the issue of eating healthy, if you have tips, please send us your tips, and I will read some of those. KC will cut and paste them and email them to me, and I can read them that way. Okay, let me go outside. I'm going to run you around and show you how I cook in the van. I got junk all over the place. And so let's go outside. I'll unplug that. I'll take my... And you're going to get rattled around a little bit. Sorry about this. I didn't put it on the gimbal. The gimbal would have kept you not from rattling around. Let's turn that. No, wrong thing. Turn that again. Away. Turn that. All right. So I'm actually, where am I doing this from? I'm doing this. I'm going to plug in a microphone, and if there's not a problem hearing, okay, plugged in the microphone. I better double check. Sue-Ann, can you hear me still?
I can't hear you fine.
Okay, so I plugged in the microphone, but it's still okay.
Yes.
Okay, and there's my setup. My email that happened. I'm not sure what. Maybe I hit something. I don't know. Here's my setup.
I think you're back.
Yeah. So I have an iPad set up here with email. Sue-Ann's over here, and of course Cody's in charge, and so he's keeping a very close supervisory eye on me at all times. It's a lazy eye occasionally, but yeah. So I'll show you where I cook, how I cook. It's real noisy here, so I've always cooked. I've never been one who was afraid to cook in a van. For as long as I've been around, I have cooked. I'll show you my cooking pots and pans too here in a minute. This is how I do it, and I just got these out so that you'd set that. I carry salt, pepper, and I carry a can opener, and this is my one burner Coleman stove. I've used one of these forever and ever and ever. This is what I use to cook with. Go through my cooking pots. I use two pots. I use a copper, although it turns out there's not a bit of copper in these things, but I use that, and it'll cook 4 hamburgers. And I usually, because I have a fridge, there's the fridge. Because I have a fridge, that's dog food, that's water. So, because I have a fridge, I cook a lot at once and then eat on it for a while. So I cook 4 hamburgers at a time at 1 pound, and then I eat one that night, and then I have 4 in the fridge. And I also have, I'm going to start baking, I think. And then I have, this is my bowl. This is my bowl, my mixing bowl. It's got a screw-on lid. This is made by GSI. I really like this. It's a bowl I eat out of. It's a bowl I mix out of. It's got it's got cups, and it's a measuring bowl. But I also do have measuring cups, and I do have measuring spoons. And then I keep one big pot. So I have 1 frying pan and 1 big pot. To show you the size of the pot. And I think it's 3/4. So I can make a big pot of spaghetti, and I do that fairly often. I like spaghetti. It's an inexpensive meal. I use, and it's just a pot, you know, like any other pot. And I use whole wheat. I always use whole wheat, and this is what I cook a lot with. I cook more with my microwave than anything else anymore, and I'm not sure I'm going to show you inside there because it's a real mess. I cook mostly with a microwave. This was the smallest microwave I could find. There's confusion on microwaves. There's cooking power and the power they draw. This has a 600 watt cooking power microwave. And here is the inverter. I have a 2000 watt pure sine inverter. This is Xantrex. It's a Pro Watt SW. Don't know if you can see that there. Pro Watt SW. Very, very happy with that. I've been using that for 5, 6, 7 years. A long time. And it has served me very, very well. I also carry a small one because you don't need a 2000 watt inverter very often, or pure sine. So I carry a small inverter that I use a lot. And there's just some more stuff. And now I've got food put around, just like everyone else. So mainly I use the microwave, and I use my one burner stove. You can see I got the hose come out. The hose goes underneath here. Back in here is my bottle, my pots and my pans, minimal pots of pans. I have the one frying pan, the one big, fairly big pot. I don't need anything bigger than 2.5 quarts. Let's go back. Back here, I carry a, in this box, you've seen my boxes before. In this box, right inside here, it sits right inside, I carry a barbecue. This is a gas. See the gas? I just use green bottles on it. I don't mind. I don't use. So I will cook up a pound, like 1.5 pounds of chicken breasts, or fry 4 hamburgers. It's really dusty and dirty. You can see that because the box is not airtight at all. So I have 3 main cooking methods. I have the barbecue, the microwave, and my stove. So that's how I cook. Now I've added something new, and I have just got it and haven't had the time. I've been on the move so much that I have not had any time to do anything. This is, oddly enough, this is a solar oven. And I'd have to get it out and take it apart and assemble it for you to see. But the problem with solar, I like solar ovens a lot. I love solar ovens a lot. And but they're too big. I can't carry a solar oven in a box kind in the van. This is a folding kind. This is called All Seasons. And so I'm going to start using it and do reviews of it. All right, I think that's all I want to say about my cooking. All righty. Let's see, can I show you the snow up there? There's snow on the mountains all around me here, and I've been driving in snow. I don't know if I can show, I can't. Okay, let me get in the van, get her out of some of the noise. And we'll take questions and comments from you. All right. Let's see, how do I have this set up? I think I have it set up like that. That goes down there. How did that go? I don't know. How about like that? Oh, let's reverse it. No, it didn't do it. There we go. That did it. How's that going to work? Might work. Okay, so I will go to Casey. I am going to the first card. Casey is sending me the questions. Card 1, live feed. Okay. Oh, and I get questions if people have asked, what about KC? Why are you hiring someone else? Isn't KC doing it? KC has proved herself so incredibly invaluable that she does so much that she just couldn't keep up with all of what we're doing. In fact, I'd be happier doing even more stuff. So Casey is just essential. She's made herself so valuable that she's concentrating on a few things. Have you ever noticed my thumbnails on my videos? Every one of those Casey makes. She's just fantastic at those. And then, in fact, I've encouraged her to take on other YouTubers and make other people's YouTube. I think she could make a living just making thumbnails for videos. She's fantastic at it. Everything she does extraordinarily well. So she's so busy with so many things that I just desperately need her to do that she's not able to do it all. So we're adding this person on who doesn't have to travel. You don't have to travel for this new job. Okay, first question, Douglas Clark. Bob, what is your all-time favorite meal to cook in your van? And Doug, I hope you're feeling better. Doug's really struggling with his health and really struggling with his health. And hang in there, Doug. You're really missed. And I'm sure you're going to get better, and hopefully things are getting all straightened out. A hamburger. My hamburger is my favorite meal. It always has been. And no question, hamburger is my favorite meal to make. Yeah. Joy Ziz, this sounds great. I'm also curious to hear ideas and tips on safe food storage without electricity or solar if there's times to address. So, how to store food if you don't have a fridge? No fridge cooking, basically. No fridge cooking. And there's a lot you can do with no fridge cooking. Raw. The big thing is to eat raw. If you'll eat raw, that solves that whole problem. So there's a lot of people on a raw food diet, and there's a million things you can eat that are raw, and there are health benefits. There are a lot of people that really believe and make good scientific case for that raw eating is more natural and more healthy than cooking eating. And so that'd be the first thing I'd do, is go to Google and Google raw eating, and you'll get a lot of tips for what you can buy that doesn't need any cooking. And then a lot of it's just common sense. Canned meats solve a lot of it. The big thing, and it depends on how close you are to a town. If you're anywhere near a larger town, you can get your fresh fruits and vegetables. That's the real problem, is fresh fruits and vegetables and meats. Because they don't keep. You can go with canned meats to some degree, tuna fish, all kinds of canned meats, canned chicken, canned tuna, canned roast beef. So you can buy canned meats, and also the foil packs. The foil packs are something to really look into. You can get a lot of foods in foil packs now that hold pretty well. And so if you're near town, you can go into town every 2 or 3 days, go into town, buy some meat, cook it up, eat it the next day, buy the next day, cook it soon, and then it'll probably be good overnight. Follow the safety rules. Always do a Google search on the safety rules on all foods. How long can I keep it without being refrigerated? Always do that. Follow the safety rules. And fruits and vegetables, you can find the coolest place in your van. There's some place in your van that's cool. Under the bed, usually, and then get us one of the soft-sided coolers and put it in there and keep it under the bed. Wherever is coolest in your van, there's some place where it's coolest, and keep your fruits and vegetables there. You'll usually be able to keep fruits and vegetables 2, 3, 4 days without refrigeration. You bring them home from cool, you put them in some kind of cooling thing that'll keep it cool, put that in the coolest place, and it'll keep for a while. You'll learn how long something will last, and with you don't have the devastating results of it going bad and killing you like you do with meat. So just, lots of things. And there are a lot of things that are legumes and beans and rice. And there are a lot of freeze-dried foods that maintain their health benefits, their vitamins and minerals and all that. Freeze-dried foods, dehydrated foods, lots of ways you can get around needing refrigeration. Okay, Jennifer McCarthy, can you please have Sue-Ann talk about how to pare down to the least amount of space possible for their bare bones essentials, since I may be long-term car camping. Do you want to address that, Sue-Ann?
Well, I think you covered the refrigeration, purchase and make sure your foods can do well without refrigeration. That saves a lot of space. Soft-sided beds and save a lot of space. So those would be my 2 suggestions.
Yeah, you know, I think that one video we shot together with your breaking your van down, that's what I would, your car down. I think we really covered it well there.
Yeah, they're called Essentials Video.
Yeah.
I'll put the links in the chat.
Yeah. Okay, Sue-Ann and I did one where she had emptied her car, the Prius, for some reason. I forget. What was the reason you'd emptied it? There was some reason.
Just to make the video.
Oh, just to make the video. She was being nice. And we had it all laid out, and we went down, and she talked about every single item and why she had it and why she had chosen that. And, you know, think about if you're a backpacker. What can you take if you're a backpacker, and just keep that idea very firmly in your mind. I got to be able to, this has to be essential to life, and it has to be multiple purpose, and it has to be the smallest and most compact one possible. And if you'll just keep those things in mind, you can get down really, really small. Kelly Drake Schultz, I would like to know how much solar it takes to run a 1460 amp Ninja Foody pressure slow cooker. So no fried, I would love to get one of these, so no fried in oil food. It pressure cooks and air fries. Now, when you say pressure, well, are we talking about an Instant Pot? I have a video on Instant Pot, and I have a friend who uses an Instant Pot all the time, and he has 200 watts. So I'm assuming, yeah, the Ninja, it's a different kind of an Instant Pot. It's the same thing. Yeah. So for the Ninja or the food or the Instant Pot, they're the same thing. It doesn't take all that much. If you want to do it overnight and for a long time, then you got a problem. That won't work. You're doing it on a sunny day, that's not going to be a problem at all. In fact, if you have your alternator or your starting battery hooked up to your house battery, you can turn it on. If you're only cooking like 20 minutes, you could turn the engine on the whole 20 minutes, and basically it would run off the engine if you've set it up properly. Big enough cable. Yeah, it's not really that hard to run those things because they're fairly short. If you're talking about a traditional slow cooker that runs 4, 5, 6 hours, then no, you're probably not going to be able to run one of those because of the extremely long, slow draw. But yeah, the Instant Pots, they're fast. And so it's like a microwave. My microwave, I'm only running, 5 minutes is a long time for me to use the microwave. And so 5 minutes, even at that extremely high draw, doesn't have a big impact on my batteries. So you can get away with it. I would say you're also probably going to run a fridge, because why else would you have an Instant Pot if you weren't running a fridge? 200 is the absolute minimum. 300 is what you want. And then you want to be able to use it in the winter when the days are short, when it's cloudy, and then you're up to 400. I think if you have 400 watts, at minimum of 300 amp hours of batteries, you're set. You'll be good. And more is better. 500 is better, 600 is better. But again, 200 is the minimum and probably not enough. You'll run out in the winter, in the dark days of winter. 300 is good, probably keep you going. You may have some tough times in the winter. But yeah, 400 is really what you want to do those kinds of cooking with. I have 400 watts. That's what I want to run my microwave, is 400 watts and plenty, and at least 300 watts, 300 amp hours of battery. Okay. Evelyn C. Meredith, I have a really wonderful Igloo brand 5-day cooler. Can you talk about the difference of having a super insulated cooler like a Yeti versus a regular cooler versus a 12-volt fridge? Really good question. The Yetis, are they worth the money? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're throwing money away. You can go to Home Depot and buy a 4x8 sheet of good styrofoam insulation, not the white stuff. The white stuff's a mess. Every time you touch it, you get little white balls everywhere, and you'll have those in your van for the rest of your life. Don't buy the white stuff. But the pink and the blue doesn't do that. It'll break off because it's just foam, but it doesn't break off in the little tiny white balls. It breaks off in pieces that you can just pick up and put in your trash if you ever do break it. And polyiso is best of all because it stays together really, really well, and it has the highest R value. So go there, cut a piece so that the cooler sits on it. Cut. Then with it setting on that piece, measure the walls around the outside, and I just put mine together with with bungee cords. Bungee cords hold mine on. And so you've built a box, and then you want a one that's set. I'm using hand motions, you can't see me, just to have it. And then put a box on top, and that'll keep it. That's going to keep it colder than a Yeti will. It will if you buy a good 5-day cooler and you insulate around it like that. One sheet of styrofoam. I mean, even the good 2-inch. Say you use 2-inch, that's $40. Maybe $50 for a 4x8 2-inch sheet, and that's going to be plenty. That's all you'll need. And man, it will work better than a Yeti. And yeah, if you ever drive over the Yeti will survive. My advice to you: don't drive over it. I've had just cheap coolers that I've used for 4 or 5 years easily. They don't just break. They don't just wear out. I've had hinges fail. I just drove in new screws, and they work just fine. It's just a hinge. You can go to the Home Depot and buy a new hinge and screw in a new hinge. I mean, it really is just that simple. They're not going to wear out and break on you. The Yeti is just money thrown away. Yeah. And then opposed to a 12-volt fridge. 12-volt fridges are getting a lot cheaper. You can get a 12-volt fridge for $200-300 now. You can get a pretty decent 12-volt fridge. I bought an Alpacool. I think Alpacool is one of the cheapest ones now, and gave it to a friend to test. It's a fantastic cooler. So far, he loves it, and I love it too. And it's hundreds less than all of the others. And so, yeah, I would buy a cheap one, a cooler, before I'd buy a Yeti. It'll be less. Imagine that. You can buy a 12-volt fridge for less than a Yeti. And yeah, to me, it's just foolish. A Yeti's money thrown away. Now, maybe some of the more reasonably priced ones that are clones, like Walmart sells a clone that's much more reasonably priced, maybe. But I still wouldn't even do it then. I'd still make my own. But I believe you're going to pay for if you at all can afford $300, and now you can buy a pretty good cooler for $300. One of the off-brand names, but I think the Alpacool is one of the cheaper on Amazon. I think I'd buy one. Well, like I said, I bought one and has given away to a friend, and it's still working just fine. And so in the long run, it's going to be cheaper. It's going to save you money over ice. What you're not factoring in is in the middle of the summer, you're out in the woods, you run out of ice, you have to make a 10-mile, 20-mile, 30-mile round trip just to buy ice, and then you're out in the middle of nowhere even then, and you pay $3, $4 a bag for ice. You've burned the oil. I mean, you've burned the gas to get the ice. You bought the ice. You drove home. You threw away some food because maybe you went too long, or now it's swimming around in the water. All those things. Emergency runs, gas for emergency runs for ice, the cost of the ice, the cost of the food that you throw away over the lifetime of the cooler. There's no question that it'll quickly pay for itself. Maybe not in the first year, but it'll pay for itself in the second year, if not absolutely by the third year. If you've only paid $300, yeah, it's going to pay for itself. Just absolutely. If you if you get one bag a week and no other cost, just that, that's $150. That's a little over $150 if you're paying $3 a bag, and you're probably going to pay more than that. And all the other factors factor in. Yeah, it's just going to really add up fast. I think it's worth it. Okay, Logan Berry. Hey, so curious about RV cooking. How long have you been cooking on the road, and what is your favorite setup? Well, I kind of went through that, Logan Berry. My favorite setup is a simple. Well, I've been on the road for 17 years, and every one of those years I've cooked inside the van. There's never been a time when I did not. If you move into a van primarily to save money, and if you don't cook in it, you go out to eat, you probably may not save any money. So I've always cooked in the van, and I've always used a simple propane, a Coleman propane 1 or 2 burner stove. For a while, I used a 2 burner. I don't need a 2 burner. I think for most people, you don't need it. There are people that do, and if you do, then get a 2 burner. But a 1 burner is all I need. It's like $35 on Amazon, and they'll last you years and years and years. They just don't ever break or wear out. Mine haven't. And that's what I cook. That's how I cook. I've always, for a long, long time, I used ice. Well, these things didn't exist. Well, they probably existed. I just didn't know about them. Ingle's been around a long time. Ingle fridges. They've been around a very, very long time. But I didn't know about them, and so I never had one. So, yeah, I just use a Coleman, and now I use a microwave. And even back then, in the very beginning, I carried a generator, and I would put the generator out to run the microwave. For my first 6 years, solar was, this was in the 90s. I first moved into a van in 95 through 2001. Solar was not an option for little rigs. I was in a van, and that just wasn't. My first solar setup came in 2008. My first time I installed solar was 2008, 12 years ago. And even then, I paid my first 135 watt panel, solar panel, cost me $700. Let me say that again, $700 for a 135 watt panel. The controller, which was a cheap controller, was probably $200. A good one was much more, and batteries weren't all that bad. But yeah, it was so expensive even then, and no one was doing it. I bought my first setup from Solar Mike in Slab City, and he's still in business, and I still recommend him. Solar Mike in Slab City. If you're looking for solar, he's the guy I recommend. And don't worry about Slab City. There's good parts of Slab City, just like there are good and bad parts of every town. There are good parts of Slab City. You go camp in one of the good parts and go in and have him put your solar on, and you'll be very happy he does. He does a great guy. Great guy, great job, decent prices, much better than most people. Solar Mike in Slab City. Okay, what are we talking about? How long have you been cooking on the road, and what is your favorite setup? Yeah, I sold you my setup. Now I've expanded it to a barbecue, and I've always, on and off, I've carried, it's room. Where are you going to put that barbecue I showed you? It's just a little portable, but it's hard to have room. And these boxes allow me to carry that propane barbecue, and it's worth it to me. That's that's the main reason I carry the boxes, is so I can carry the barbecuer, and there's a few other things in there. Okay, Phyllis Mitchell, is there a burner that is a car cigarette friendly for those rainy or inclement days? I find a good advantage to living nomadically is that you tend to lose weight. Yes, most of us are more physically active. We're outside more. We eat a little better. It just happens automatically that we're healthier and we lose weight and we're more active. So most of us find we're healthier. Okay, I know, Sue Ann, you've used a lot of just warming water, cooking, and used electric ones for that, haven't you?
Yeah, not so much anymore. I did use just a 12-volt coffee warmer, and it takes about 45 minutes to get reasonably hot. So I'm not patient enough anymore.
Yeah, I think if you want to cook with electricity, and it's not really practical. Minimum of 200. I'll say it again. A minimum of 200 watts. 300 is really what you want to cook. Remember, you know, we all think in the good days of summer, but winter's coming. December 21st, the shortest day of the year, and it's cloudy, and there's no sun, and you never see the sun. You never see the sun for 2, 3, 4 days. The days are short. You're going to lose your solar. It's just that simple. It's not magic. It's good, but the more you have, the longer it'll last. The more you have, the bigger the battery bank you have, the longer your solar will last through the bad times. Plan solar around the bad times. 300 watt is what I recommend to cook. 400 is better. You can run your microwave. Instant Pot works great for cooking, really great for cooking, because it's shorter. The pressure makes the cook times much shorter. That's much better. And induction cooktop. Again, all of these need a big inverter. I showed you mine earlier. I have a 2,000 watt Xantrex. That thing's $400. I've been using it, I know, for at least 5 years. It runs perfectly to this day. I love that thing. It's a Xantrex Pro Watt 2000. I wouldn't hesitate. That'll run all your devices, not at once, but it will run them all. It'll run a microwave. It'll run an Instant Pot because it's pure sine. It will run a big, some of one of your questions will probably eventually be, how do I get a big blender? How do I run a big blender? Same thing. Minimum of 300 watts to cook. 400 is much better. More is better, but 400 is good. And then your big Ninja pot, Instant Pot, yes. And also blenders, your big Ninja blenders and those things. Those are very high draw, and they want pure power, pure sine wave. So get a 2,000 watt pure sine wave. You can run them all. Oh, and what I was talking about, the induction plate. If you want to use an electric plate to cook with, that's the way to go, induction, because it's really fast, it's really safe, and it's very efficient. It's not wasting any of your power going up the side of the pot. It's just putting just the pot, using power into the pot, and all of that is then transferred into the food. So very, very efficient. So an induction plate is what I'd consider. You can buy them for $50. You got to make sure you have cookware that is induction ready. But if you do that, it'll work really, really well. So big fan of induction plates. If you want to cook with electricity, that's how to do it. And then you can get your rice cooker. That's fine. You can run a rice cooker, no problem. You can run a bread machine. Bread machine's harder because that might take hours. It's the long draw that kills you with electric cooking. So the Phyllis Mitchell, the burner that is car friendly is the induction plate. Mr. T, Bob, would cooking involve refrigeration and freezing of food? It doesn't have to. You can cook in small amounts. You could go and buy, say you went and bought a pound of hamburger, and you cooked all 4 hamburgers at once. Maybe you'd eat 2 that meal and 2 the next meal, and you probably could keep that overnight. I've always had refrigeration, so this is not something I have experience with. Is that what the question is? Would cooking involve refrigeration and freezing of food? No, you could. I like, there's a lot of things you can cook without refrigeration. Well, I guess that's not true. I was going to say I like grilled cheese sandwiches, but that's butter. But margarine doesn't probably have to be refrigerated. You keep it in a cool place, it might be okay. Cheese would not like that. The singles, Kraft singles, I don't think they're real cheese. There's not much real cheese in them. I don't know if they have to be refrigerated or not. I have a refrigerator, so I always do. There are ways to cook with. My friend Carol, I'll tell you who to go listen to, is Carolyn's RV Life. She's a vegan and she cooks every night. So she's going to be my standard, although she does run refrigeration. But you can always do legumes and rice and beans, and there's all kinds of things you can do. Wheat, berries, what are those called? They're not legumes. Grains, legumes, things like that. Those all take cooking. Rice takes cooking, but doesn't take refrigeration, only if you make too much. Michael, I have lost 60 pounds in 1 year. I only eat fresh fruit, veggies, and meat, no processed food. Yes, that's a good way to do it. Kind of Paleolithic diet, only what if they ate it 10,000, the Paleolithic diet in its purest is if they ate it 10,000 years ago, you can eat it now. If they didn't eat it 10,000 years ago, you can't eat it now. I think that is probably the best possible way to eat, and what I would encourage anyone to do. So buy small portions of meat and then cook it and then eat it, and lots of raw fruit and vegetables. It'll be a pure raw diet. There won't be any refrigeration because they didn't have refrigeration 10,000 years ago, did they? So a true paleo diet, and you can go, there's a lot of information on Google about that paleo diet. Now, a lot of it becomes meat because they ate a lot of meat 10,000 years ago. And so that will require refrigeration. And so you'll have to learn about how to keep that. And I'm not an expert on that. I don't know because I have refrigeration. I have always had refrigeration. I've never lived in a van without it. To me, it's just one of those things I'm not going to do without. I don't live in a van to suffer. I live in a van to live a more healthy, natural life. And but not pure. I'm not a purist because I always have refrigeration. Oh, excuse me, folks. Wow, congratulations for losing 60 pounds in a year. That's fantastic. Yeah, I think kind of a keto. I think that's also what it's being called now. Although it's keto gets a little bit weird, the butter. They didn't eat butter 10,000 years ago. So it gets a little bit off of the pure paleo. But the idea, the more natural you can eat, fruits, vegetables, meats, nothing processed. Another diet that I know a lot of people do is no whites. So no potatoes, because potatoes are white. No sugar of any kind, in any of its many myriad ways they hide it, because that's white, although the way they hide it's not white. But you lump it in with those whites, and no white flour of any kind. That still wouldn't be paleo, because they didn't really, in 10,000 years ago, they didn't really do grains in the sense of flour, or even whole wheat flour that we're talking about. Okay, Sylvia, healthy diet would be organic veggies and meat and fish with a small amount of fresh organic fruits. Well, Sylvia, there's many ideas of what a healthy diet is, so I'm not going to be too dogmatic. I'm going to let you all make your own decisions. That certainly is a healthy diet, no question about that. Is that the only healthy diet? I'm not sure I would agree with anyone about anything that says this is a healthy diet and nothing else is. That's just not something I can buy in on. Sylvia, we just talked to you. Adventures with no meal. I'm a healthy eater, lots of vegetables and fruits, lean meats, no sugar. That's a healthy diet. I mean, let me just read that again. Adventures with no meal. I am a healthy eater, lots of vegetables, lots of fruits, lean meats, no sugar. Boy, is there any better way to put it? That's a healthy diet. There's just not any ifs, ands, or buts. The closer you to, well, I think you would have to go on and say no refined products, because refinement in itself is, and for a lot of people, well, I guess you eliminated grains, didn't you? But I think you also eliminated legumes. So, anyone who tells me this is the only healthy diet, I don't buy that, just whatever it is. I certainly don't argue that isn't a healthy diet. What you've described, it obviously is a very healthy diet. But is it the only healthy diet? If I added beans, would I be a bad person? I don't know. Renee, do you plan to use your solar oven to bake? Yes, actually that's one of the things I'm mainly planning to do. Is there's really simple baking, 2 or 3 ingredient baking. That's what I want to do. There's and some of it is no bake baking. And I want to do that too. There are a lot of ingredients for no bake baking. And I bought almond flour, and I'm going to use stevia. I want sugar, and honey. You can bake with honey. You can bake with 100% pure maple syrup. So you get the flavor you want, and I want sugar. But everything else is healthy. The almond flour is healthy. Maybe I'd put in peanut butter or almond butter, grind my own almond butter, and then add my own salt and my own stevia. That's probably what I'll do, because I want sweet. I want to be able to have sweet snacks that aren't really bad for me. So I've been watching on YouTube lots of simple 3 or 4 ingredients, very healthy, very plain ingredients that I can make my own, and they'll taste great and still be healthy. And I'll do reports on that as it happens. I've been on the move, and then we didn't have any sun, and then it was windy, and I haven't been able to use the crazy thing since I've got it. But solar ovens are a real good tool. I've been using solar ovens on and off for a very long time. My favorite, when I had my cargo van, I had an extended van and a cargo trailer. I had a cargo van and a cargo trailer, and I carried a global sun oven. Now it's called American Sun oven. I love that thing. That cooks so well. Super device. Really big and expensive. And so I had to get rid of it when I moved into a van. There's just not room. I'm hoping this new thing will solve that. Louisa G, tip Whole Foods. It's that simple. Oh, Whole Foods, yes. I see. I think that's what you're saying. Eat whole foods. If it's not a whole food, don't eat it. And that's pretty simple. And I don't think anyone would argue that that's not healthy. It's that simple, but not always easy to stick to. I'm wondering how dangerous it is to cook outside in terms of attracting wildlife. Thanks. That's a very good question. I'll just tell you, I've been cooking outside, or I've been cooking in my van. My van, to any wild animal, is a gourmet. I mean, any passing bear, because I've cooked so many meals inside my van, and those smells infuse my van, and I'm sure they infuse me, my clothes, and everything in the van. If they were attracted, they would be around all the time. So I absolutely have no fear of that. Now, there are very few places. The issue is bears. Coyotes aren't an issue, I don't believe. They're not going to bother you. Bears are the issue, and that's really what you're asking about. Do I have to worry about bears if I cook inside my van? No, you don't. You just don't. You have to be very, very careful of camp outside of the rig. And if you're in a place where they have bear boxes, you have to be very careful. If there are no bear boxes, you don't really have to be all that worried about it. But if there are bear boxes, that means there are lots of bears and they've had incidences and they're trying to avoid them. So then you have to be very careful. But it's all still cooking outside. Can it be an issue? It can be. I was a campground host for 3 years in the Sierras. There were bears everywhere around. I saw them. I bet I had, Cody, back then it was Homer, but Cody and I and Homer both did a lot of walking. And so in our out walks away from the campgrounds, we had at least 7 direct encounters with bears. In every instance, the bears took one look at us and turned and ran away as far and as fast as it could go. Some of them are real humorous. Sometime I got to sit down and just record all my bear incidences. Homer was fearless. He would chase bears. He would chase right after them. And so I had to really control him. I've had numerous instances. I had an instance where Homer chased a bear. The bear did a big circle and came running straight back at me. I mean, the bear is running straight at me because Homer is chasing him. I can't see Homer yet, but he's running straight at me. And the bear sees me, and just like a cartoon, I mean literally just like a cartoon, he sits down on his butt and screeches to a stop on his butt with his feet down, and he and I are staring at each other. And what's going to happen? The bear decides, I don't want anything to do with this. The dog is chasing him, and he's afraid of the dog, and I'm standing here looking at him, so he gets up and runs away as fast as he can in other directions. So I am I was in the same campground for 3 years, and the year before that, I had been in the Rockies up in Leadville, and there are lots of bears around there. I never ever saw a single bear that whole time in that year, but in the Sierras, I saw a bunch of them. I only saw them once in the campground, and as soon as he saw me, the campground was deserted, so he thought it was empty, but I was still there, and he saw me and turned and ran away as fast as he could. I barely just saw him running off in the distance. It's not nearly as big a deal as you think. I've never had a single problem. Use common sense about cooking and you'll be fine. Nothing about bears. Spencer Moon, I've never had any issue with cooking with bears. That's all I can tell you. Spencer Moon asks, do you drink tea or coffee regularly? If so, how do you make it and how often? I don't ever make tea or coffee or hot chocolate. Never. I cook a meal in my van all the time. I figured it out once. I'm sure I've cooked, I had like 3,000, 4,000 days, and I averaged probably, I've cooked thousands. I won't try and figure it out on top of my head. I have cooked thousands and thousands of meals inside a van. And I just use a stove. Maybe I'll go do that again. What time is it? It's straight up 3. We'll go to 3:10 because we're going to cut out the announcements. So I'll go probably 3 till 3:10. Do you drink tea, coffee? No. Well, I just use my stove. That's all. Now I have solar. I would do it in the microwave. Now I'll probably go do that again. Show you how my cooking, because most of you didn't see that now. Let's go do that right now. I'll show you how I cook. I would use either microwave, but I would just use the stove, and I'm sure that's the only way I would make hot water is with a stove. It's no big deal. Okay. Oh, here's the number 3. Can you talk about how many watts the actual item is that you plug in? Thank you, Bob. What kind of food do you carry? Fresh, dried, canned. Please talk about cooking with a hot plate. I talked about an induction cooker. Can you talk about how to make ice last in a cooler? I talked about that. All these questions that are coming up, I think I've covered really well. I talked about how to go to Home Depot and buy a sheet of styrofoam, the red, the blue, or pink, blue, or what's that called? I forgot. Just not white. Don't buy the white styrofoam. Cut it. It's easy. What are your top healthy food options for no fridge or no cooler? Oh, well, you have to eat at a restaurant because you don't have a fridge. What are some healthy options? I'm not really the guy to talk to about eating healthy, am I? Let me turn this around. I'll go through my cooking again. I went through it once, but I'll do it again. I'm at a gas stop. I'm in a gas station. I'm just driving along and had to find internet, so I stopped here. First, I've been using a barbecuer off and on. It goes in this box. That's one of the primary reasons I carry a box, is so that I can carry a barbecue. This is a propane barbecue. Just use the little green bottles. That's one way I cook. I like it a lot. I really prefer to have it because there's no cleaning. We haven't talked about cleaning. No one's asked about doing dishes. This is the main way I cook. I use a Coleman 1-burner, and I've been using this for years and years and years. From the very beginning, I've used Coleman propane stoves. You can see I have a hose. Hose goes down in here, and under here is a bottle. These are the pans. I use that's 11-inch, I think, frying pan, and I think this is like either a 2 or 3 quart pot. Those are my pots and pans. I use a microwave. Here's my microwave. It is a cheap one. It's 600 watt cooking power. And if I weren't using it, I think I would rather have a 700 watt cooking power. Cooking power is different than watts. I've checked the 700 watters. They draw about 1100 watts of power, but that isn't that much because it's only 5 minutes. I carry my water down here. I carry Cody's dog food in here, and I also keep a 1 gallon jug in there as well of water. Here is get that out of the way. Here's some food I carry, different kinds of cooking stuff beside it. As far as an induction, so here is the key thing to running a microwave. This is a 2000 watt pure sine wave Xantrex. It's the Pro Watt 2000. I'm very, very happy with it. I've been using it for 4 or 5 years minimum, I think more. Then the question was about an induction. So if I weren't going to use my propane, I would use an induction. That's what I would do. And inductions have very, very high draws, and so you'd use a 2000 watt pure sine inverter for that as well. They need pure power, and it has to be 2000 watts. They're very high draws, but they're so short that you can probably get away with it. Oh, I didn't show you my fridge. Oh, so here's my fridge. Well, I guess I can show you how I've done my fridge. So this is my 12-volt fridge. I had to throw everything around because of this and that, and I'm traveling, and so the place is a mess. Okay, I guess I'll pull that out there and show it to you. Okay, so here's my fridge, and you can see I've added insulation. That's 1 inch of the pink insulation, and I literally just duct taped it on. And so, and because this has a the compressor is underneath there. This is the outlet for the compressor. You cannot inhibit the flow of air from the compressor. So I that's why this is cut out here and it's cut out there. Everywhere there's an intake or outtake, you have to keep it open. And then I just keep blankets. So I have 1, 2, 3 blankets doubled over and on just laid on top. But I have a 1 inch pink styrofoam. And see, this doesn't do the balling up. I don't know if you can see that. This doesn't do the balling up that the white does. That's why you don't buy the white. But this is very good insulation. And this is a backpacker's sleeping pad. Can you see that? The sun. This is a backpacker's sleeping pad. And this is very good insulation. And I have just taped it on here like that. And this outside is silver. And so if the sun ever does hit it, see, it might even be barely getting to it now. If the sun ever does hit it, the silver will reflect it and keep it cool. And so that's how I do my refrigeration. This is a truck fridge. I believe I've had it 5 years now. I could be wrong. Very, very happy with it. Real good fridge. Really good fridge. And here, of course, is Cody. He's keeping his eye on there's Sue Ann. Hi, Sue Ann. And all my and Casey's Cody's the boss. He's keeping charge. He's in charge of everything. And here's Cody's dog food. So Cody has dog food and water up here on his bed, and I put a box here so he can, he can sit right beside me, which is what I like. Okay, I think I'm about done. So to cook with electric, I'll go cook through electric again. And turn you around. Cook with electric again. 200 is the absolute minimum, but you're probably going to have a fridge. So if you have a fridge, I really wouldn't try to cook without 300. That's really what I recommend. 300 watts for cooking. Any of those, Instant Pot, or what is the other one? What's the induction plates? 300 watts, and you'll be okay. 400 is preferable, and it's not that much more. Not at all more. If you're buying 4 100-watt panels, you're talking about another $100 to get that last panel, probably 120 maybe. So really, and then you have to have a controller that can handle that much. But maybe it was $20 more to get the bigger controller. So really it's worth it, and then get enough battery bank to go on, and then you'll be really glad you did. So what were some of these other? What were some insulated control things? Cool. Can you cook about how to make ice last in the cooler? Making ice last in the cooler is like I just showed you. Cover it with insulation. The pink, the blue insulation. Go to Home Depot, buy a sheet, set the cooler on top of it, cut it around the bottom. Now you've got a floor. Build around a box around the side walls. You can either, like I did, you could literally go and you can just use duct tape it on, and it'll stay there forever. It's just amazing how this stuff will stay on. Or you can get bungees. I've done that too before. Just ran a bungee around it and bungeed it tight, and that will be your box. That's all you have to do. And then one on top. And you saw I just have blankets. I just put blankets across the top of mine. That covers the seal a little bit. And I think that keeps it a lot longer. It'll keep it as long as a Yeti if you have. It'll help. It'll save you a lot of ice. Okay, I think we've done enough. That's 10 after. We cut out the first 10 minutes, and that'll be about 1 hour. So, KC, are we done? Is there anything else I should cover? Which crock pot do you recommend? I don't know about. I think they're all the same. All the crock pots are the same. What is the best way to cook broccoli? Boy, I have no idea how to cook broccoli. How would you describe your diet? Bachelor. That's how I would describe my diet. It's a bachelor diet. What do you have for breakfast? I've been experimenting more and more with what's called intermittent fasting, whereas you go long periods of time. The idea being you don't eat till later in the day. And for some people that won't work. I think it would work for more people than you would think. The idea is that it's insulin that causes your body to store fat. And as soon as you eat something in the morning, your body starts producing insulin, and it wants then to store fat. It doesn't want to burn fat. Once there's insulin going on, you want to store fat instead of burn it. So if you wait till as late in the day as practical, all that time, you're burning fat instead of storing it. As soon as you eat something, insulin's released. Insulin is the main mechanism of storage of fat. That's what its job is. And so the less time the insulin is floating around in your blood, the healthier you'll be, the less fat you'll be. And I think there's probably some real science behind that. So I've kind of been playing with eating later in the day for just a shorter period of time.
Here's a question, Bob. Can you plug in a 12-volt compressor fridge into a cigarette lighter?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, the question was, can you plug a 12-volt cigarette compressor fridge into a cigarette lighter plug? Yes, they come with it. Everyone that I've ever seen came with a cigarette lighter plug. Do I have one up here? A regular cigarette lighter plug. They only draw about 55 watts. They're very low draw. Mine is 55, and some of them will be even less. Some will be 48. 48's a real common number. And I think that might even be at startup. They might even run less for longer periods. They're very low draw. Yeah, that's where they'll come. They almost always come with a 110-volt plug and a 12-volt plug, and the 12-volt will be a cigarette lighter plug. The cigarette lighter plugs are troublesome. I cut mine off and wired it straight into my fuse box so that it's fused at the fuse box and draws its power through the fuse box. But, yeah.
Bubbles.
Oh, bubbles. Let's do bubbles. Better quit. I can go on and on. All right, there's bubbles. Okay, good. Anything else?
That's it. Good job.
Oh, lots of questions there, and they're all a long time. Well, I'm going to quit. I hope that helped. You know, this is real practical stuff. I'm as Joe average an eater as you can, American eater as you can think, and I don't have any problem cooking. I do have enough solar. I have 400 watts, but I know you can get away with 300 or even 200. You can get away with it, but come wintertime, come a week of rain, you're not going to get away with it anymore. And so the more, the better. I do like electric cooking, but like I said, I carry the propane stove, and no problem cooking on a propane stove, inside the van, outside the van, doesn't matter to me. I don't worry about bears, and I love having a barbecue, and I love solar ovens. I've used solar ovens a lot. I'm going to start doing it more now that I have found this fold down solar oven that I think will work, but I don't know yet. Okay, that's it. Thanks so much, everyone, for all your questions. There's the bubbles, and I'm going to quit. And I will see you on the next video. Until then, like us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up button, and we'll talk to you later.